Do you imagine crossing the Bay of Biscay looks like this?
Good morning and welcome to Travel with Robinson, and today's episode is how rough is the Bay of Biscay? Well, we've had one excellent crossing going down to the Med a couple of weeks back, and we are currently on the Bay of Biscay about halfway across on our way home. And during the trip I've been measuring the amount of roll and pitch to see just how bad it got.
There's three main motions on a ship that can affect its guests. The first is called roll, where wind and waves causes the ship to swing from side to side like an upside down pendulum. The second is pitch, where the bow classically rises and then falls as it rides over the waves. There's a third motion called heave, where the ship rises and falls vertically in the water, leaving you with that falling elevator feeling in your stomach.
But anyway, I've invested in some serious scientific equipment, otherwise known as an inclinometer, that you sometimes find on the dashboard of Jeeps and things. And as you can see, it's fairly sensitive. And I've been filming this over the past 14 days on the Bay of Biscay, on the Med, just to see how many degrees of roll that we get, and see if we can see any significant movement.
Whoa, this is heavy.
So I'm going to show you that now, what I've filmed so far, and then what I'm going to do is do one last film on here, on the Bay of Biscay now. It's probably the roughest it's been all the fortnight. We've got quite a deep swell. It's not amazing enough, the waves aren't that high. But most people will say, oh, it's a bit rough out there. And actually, we've had a lot rougher. We've had it where we're just expecting Robert Mission to come over the top of the warship. So let's have a look at what I've filmed already, and then let's see what it's like today on the Bay of Biscay. Not brilliant weather, it's a little bit windy, it's just started to rain. There's waves out there that we haven't had for all fortnight.
So let's start with my first test, which was made shortly after we had set sail, while we were still in the English Channel. I'm just demonstrating here that the needle or globe isn't sticking. It moves freely and easily and is very sensitive. As you can see, there was a slight perceptible pitch movement that's only just registering on the inclinometer. Later in the early hours of Monday morning, the wind had picked up significantly, but the ship remained steady. Because like I said to Lisa last night, don't go fast in channel at night. They'll only be doing a few knots. But now it sums up, going a bit faster I would imagine. We'll be around the tip of breast.
Bay?
There. Down there.
I always think it's before there, I don't know why.
No, I'm sure. So we're heading there like a run you. That's straight across. A couple of hours later and the sun has come up and we started across the notorious Bay of Biscay. But still, the meter remains steady. But how? Like many larger ships, Arvia is equipped with computer-controlled underwater fins called stabilisers that compensate for the sea movements and keep the ship upright. It is claimed that they are able to cancel out 80 to 90% of wave movement, resulting in a very smooth and stable ship in a variety of sea conditions. By early evening, we are approximately halfway across the bay. The sea conditions haven't changed significantly, and the ship still feels relatively roll and pitch free. Just a quick check that the inclinometer hasn't got stuck. The movement on the camera is down to my unsteady hands, not the movement of the ship. One last check at 10 o'clock before bed, and the gauge is not showing any major signs of movement. And I can corroborate that due to the lack of coat hangers clanging together in the wardrobe, and the toilet door isn't swinging open and closed on its own. My next test occurred on the Tuesday as we left La Coruña and headed south along the Atlantic coast. If anything, I felt the sea was heavier than it had been on the bay, and there was a visible sign of roll on the gauge, but nothing like what I expected to see. It was a bit rougher last night. Same trend continued on the way home, across the calmer Mediterranean and back out onto the Atlantic.
So, I hope you can see that it doesn't take much to make this move. It doesn't take much to make it roll. And as you can see, there's hardly any movement of the ship at all. That is fairly stable. I'm feeling a little bit of movement this way. I can sense that, but this is not picking it up. Let me just try turning it 90 degrees so that we're measuring across the line of the ship. Now if we were rolling like this, that needle would be going up and down. I think first it's pretty well stabilised and we don't get a lot of movement. You always can get a little bit of shimmer and shudder. You don't see at the end of the day. You're not on a road, not on a motorway. It's a living fluid that's sort of unstable and you're just floating on the top of it. You've noticed most of the time you've got a little bit of this going on. You might have a little bit of that going on. It can give you a bit of a headache sometimes, just that little bit of motion. Now I know. it's not precise. It's only really a bit of fun. But to me, it does prove a little bit that this is a fairly stable ship, as most of the big ships are. They've got stabilisers, they've got all sorts of gadgets to keep them upright. Unless it gets significantly worse weather, I don't think we're going to have any problem at all going back over the Bay of Biscay.
Now, here's the caveat. We have mostly crossed the Bay of Biscay in summer, between May and July, and only once did we cross in October, and that was the cruise where we experienced heavy seas and feelings of nausea. Although the bay can be rough all year round, statistical data suggests the best sailing conditions are in summer, as are the best temperatures. It's no surprise then that prices fall where winter crossing is involved, and if you're concerned about the prospect of a rough crossing, it's probably these cheaper off-season cruises that are the ones to avoid. Similarly, most people agree that the larger ships with more advanced stabilisation systems fare better in rough seas than the older, smaller ones. So some of the cruise lines that use these smaller, older ships are probably more likely to be affected while crossing the bay. Something to think about.
I don't think anybody should be letting this put you off trying to cruise from Southampton around the Med, because we have now been on these ships 13 times, and only once in those 13 times on this video, just here, have we had anything like rough weather on the Bay of Biscay. So don't let it put you off, and enjoy your cruise whenever you take it. Bye for now.
Would you like to see a really smooth crossing across the Bay of Biscay? Click this video now.